Hello, today I'll be discussing my observations of informational reading and writing lessons using the workshop method to better prepare myself for my unit on informational writing. Our school is moving towards incorporating this method, but most of the teachers haven't started yet, so I found it more useful to look at videos online and observe them to learn from. One lesson in a Baltimore City school was based on using informational text to gather information that they will later use to create a book to teach the kindergarten classes about frogs. I found very useful that the teacher goes over the objectives of the students when she begins the lesson.
Today's objective, students will be able to demonstrate understanding of key details.
Demonstrate understanding of key details.
These are the content words and the academic vocabulary that they're going to need as they progress through from grade to grade.
This helps students understand what they will be learning and gives purpose to the lesson. They repeat the content words and academic vocabulary to be more familiarized with them. In their own words, they tell a partner what they will be learning about.
My partner said today we're going to read books and ask questions about them.
The teacher also prepares charts with the questions they can ask themselves throughout their reading, which is a good way to scaffold the new material.
So on this chart are a whole bunch of language frames or question starters that you might use when you're asking questions today. Okay, so I got one here that says who. You know this one?
What, when, where, why, how.
Excellent. Open your ears, put your thinking caps on, and listen to this one. Why did the author say that? So sometimes when we ask questions, we're curious about what the author wants to tell us, what his or her message is.
She teaches self-monitoring techniques to help the students learn the information they are reading. She models for them by reading and asking questions. By modeling, the teacher is showing them exactly what they have to do.
Their skin. Their bright color warns enemies not to eat them. So, I was thinking about the author, and I wondered, why does the author use the title Watch Out? As I'm asking questions when I read, it's helping me to understand what the text is saying.
Then she continues by having them read and come up with their own questions, which they will share with their partner. This method helps students practice their listening skills as well.
Pop the tadpoles. Tadpoles have tails. They live only in water. Take a minute and think of a question that you might have.
So the kids will partner talk.
If they said pop, then how, I want to know how did it get out the egg? Did it eat it or did it just pop out by itself?
A technique that the teacher uses to evaluate if the students have been reading with intention is the sticky notes. She asks students to write down their questions on sticky notes as they read their book, getting them to think about their reading and whether they understand it or they don't.
So some things I asked them to do in their groups. One was that they would use their sticky notes and they would place them on the text and they would write their questions down.
Later, she asked students to share what they have learned and some questions they might have. This is a good way for students to practice what they have learned, but also for the teacher to listen in and see if they were reading with intention.
One of our questions was, what is immunity?
What is?
We didn't know that word.
You didn't even know the word, so you didn't know how to say it?
Yes, so we just.
Immune. Good.
I find these methods very effective because it encourages students to reflect on their reading. Analyzing informational text can be daunting for students at a second grade level, and creating different ways in which they will reflect on their reading can help them navigate and determine the important information with more ease. After looking at various lessons about informational writing in second grade, this one really stood out because the class was very interactive. Every part of the lesson had partner talk or repetition, where students could process the information and say it in their own words. Many times we try to plan our lessons to be so condensed and we move too quickly. We don't set time for these learning methods or scaffolding. Giving the students adequate time to process the information and respond using their own words helps students build their language skills. Cultivating purposeful student talk in each lesson supports the students' academic vocabulary and literacy. I think it's critical to prepare our lesson plans and have clear target and objective for each class. Planning helps us become more efficient teachers and guides us in developing a more balanced curriculum. When I plan, I make sure that in each lesson I set a goal, I access prior knowledge, I provide the new information, that there's active engagement, and I end with a generalization or repetition of the goal. Planning each one of these actions is a bit time-consuming, but it helps me make sure that I have a well-rounded and effective lesson, while always remembering to keep the standards in mind as the main focus for our lessons.